Hello and welcome back to the Hornby Magazine workshop. Today we are joined by the new 00 gauge G5 produced exclusively for TMC by Bachmann. So I'm joined by Richard Proudman from Bachmann. Richard, good to see you today.
Hi Mark, thanks for having us over. Pleasure to be here.
You've come to talk to us today about these locomotives here, the G5. Talk us through the history of the locomotive.
Certainly. Well, the G5 was originally known as the O-Class, built by the North Eastern Railway, and from 1894 the first locomotives entered traffic, and 110 were built by the North Eastern Railway. Come to the 1920s and you've got the grouping, the big four companies are created and the LNER inherit the class. They redesignate them as the G5s, G standing for the wheel formation and the 5 to differentiate between different types of 044 tank locomotives. And then I think just 2 locomotives didn't make it into British Railway ownership as well. So the class had a long and varied history, operating obviously in the northeastern to start with, and then further across the LNER network over the years, pulling passenger trains predominantly. Some were equipped for push-pull working. They had air brake facilities with the Westinghouse pumps. So a long-lived class, a big class, 110 locomotives, nothing to be frowned at there, and lots of variations amongst the locomotives when they were first built and then introduced over the years. So quite a challenge to produce all those different assortments in model form, and something we've balanced with TMC, our customer for this exclusive project, to produce a model that captures all of the time periods for the real locomotives and as many of the different features that were seen as could be economically viable, really.
So with so many in the class, did any survive?
Sadly not, Mark. You'd think, 110 locomotives, there's a good chance of one surviving, but none made it to preservation. However, there is a project building a new replica of a G5, which is advancing quite well, and TMC have worked with that group to help A, produce a model that's going to look very much like what the real build loco will look like, and B, to offer them some financial support from the sales of the model. So very nice thing of TMC to do, supporting the heritage sector, which is something Bachmann feel very strongly about ourselves. So we're very pleased to see TMC do that.
When you're presented with a project like this, there's so much in terms of detail variation. How do you go about incorporating those elements of detail within the project?
Yeah, so with no surviving locomotive, you're starting from scratch with drawings, photographs of the real locomotives and different periods of time, and really sort of looking for a baseline will be the original drawings, and then looking for what's changed as you look through the different periods. So it takes a lot of work by our project engineers to go through historical documents. A lot of written documents will be consulted. Lots of great books out there that will document the history of particular classes and particular locomotives, and then finding pictures, often black and white. So when we get further down the line, look at liveries, that then needs a lot of skill to decipher a black and white image into the colours that we see on the finished product. But when we identify all the differences, we can then start to work on a bit of a matrix as to which detail differences go hand in hand. So for example, you've got the different types of safety valves. You've got the ram's bottom safety valves or the Ross pop safety valves, and hand in hand with that is the position of the whistle. So we can say, well, this whistle position goes with this safety valve type, and you start to see common features and certain tooling variants that will only be required if you're doing this other variant. So it's quite a long-winded process, and something that you have to then whittle down into a viable project, because doing every single variant might not be viable from a cost point of view, or an assembly point of view, or a tooling point of view. So you look to achieve all the liveries and all the eras that that particular prototype ran in, and using the most common set of tooling combinations really.
So how long has this project taken to come to fruition?
It's certainly taken a long time. So it was first announced at Model Rail Scotland 4 or 5 years ago. It was very much in its early stages at that point, and we've taken our time to get things right, built on some other branch line products like the Midland 1P tank locomotive. Obviously that's also an 044 wheel formation, so that's given a lot of inspiration to the mechanical side of the model, but then finding the right detail information, delivery information, all takes time, where you're in some cases looking back more than 100 years into history to find that information.
So talk us through some of the detail variations we've got here, because there's a bewildering array of differences between the models.
There certainly is. So if we start at the front of the locomotives, we'll see that some have got the push-pull gear. That's evident by the extra equipment on the front of the buffer beam. And we've got different smokebox door handles. We've got a handle, round handle, and the dart as we know it. So there's two options there. On the smokebox itself, there's the smokebox wrapper, which is either riveted or welded. Obviously the welded is just flush, whereas the riveted you can clearly see the rivets. We've got on some locomotives the Westinghouse pump, which provided air braking facilities, but some locomotives didn't have that or had it located in a position that's not visible to the exterior of the locomotive. The dome is a big moving feat, so on the earlier locomotives that's nearer to the front, nearer to the smokebox. On the later locomotives, the BR examples, it's been moved back due to modifications made by the owning companies back in the day. We've got the two different types of safety valves, as we spoke about, the Ross Pop and the Ramsbottom, and with them the different positions for the whistle. Going to the cab, and behind the cab we've got the different bunkers. So we've got the early locomotives with just the 3-rail coal bunker. Then you've got the examples with this sort of cage on top to give a bit more capacity for coal, and then we've also got a couple of examples that have an extension to the top of that cage, so even more capacity for hauling coal round and getting a bit further without needing to stop for replenishment. And at the back on the rear buffer beam, those that have got the push-pull fitted have obviously got the extra apparatus on the rear buffer beam as well.
So we can see how lovely they look from the outside. What about the inside? So what's the spec?
Well, a lot of what we've done here, Mark, is inspired by the Midland 1532, the 1P. Obviously a very similar size locomotive, an 044 tank as well. And we've got a cordless motor in there. We've got the Next 18 DCC interface. There's a speaker pre-fitted to every model, whether you choose sound fitted or not sound fitted. We've got electrical pickup from all of the wheels. We've got the NEM cut-pin pockets at the front and back with the standard tension lock cut-pin fitted, so couple up to all those models, or you can swap that as needed. We've got the actual composition of the model is interesting because there's a good amount of metal die-cast parts used here. We've got really the front end of the locomotive is die-cast, so that goes from the smoke box and the sandboxes below them and the front portion of the boiler to behind the dome, and then it's been very cleverly integrated with plastic detail parts, injection moulded plastic from that point onwards, where there's a seamless join using the boiler band as a transition. And we've got a die-cast rear end plate as well, so having that die-cast front end puts all the weight over the driving wheels, which obviously is very much a good thing for performance and haulage capacity of the models. Moving back towards the rear of the loco, we've then got the injection moulded cab, tanks, bunker, etc. To give that finesse of finish and give us the options on the different tooling variants that we've incorporated into the model. So on the green ones and the LNER locomotives, you'll see the dome is further forward and that's got the join in a different place. So yeah, it's quite an ingenious solution to put the weight in the right place for the performance of the model.
You've also got some exquisite detail inside the locomotive to enjoy as well, which has been beautifully decorated.
Yeah, certainly. So there's separate parts being used for the cab controls, and then they're all decorated accordingly. And then the firebox hole is open, and in that we've got the firebox lighting system that again has been implemented on things like the J72, the 1P, and all of our recent steam locomotives really. And that gives an orange and a yellow light which can be configured on DCC to produce a lighting effect to your preference really.
Does that work under analog control as well?
It does, yeah. So you get a constant light on an analog control. But when you use the DCC versions, you've got full configurability of the two lights and how you want them to operate.
Decoration, let's talk through those because we've got 8 variants here and they look wonderful, the different colour schemes.
Certainly do, yeah. So we start with the 2 green examples, which are the North Eastern Railway era 2 locomotives, and they are just very eye-catching, aren't they? With the
striking,
the green livery, very beautiful, beautifully applied, beautifully lined with the white and black lining, really setting that off. And then on the running plate, you've got the red lining, red buffer beams at each end. Them themselves are lined, and you've got the gold lettering and numbering, which is a thing of beauty, really. Took a lot of time to get that right. Again, we're working with TMC to make sure they're happy at every stage along the way.
I love the lining on the wheels as well.
Yes, yeah, it's very much a work of art, that, because as a wheel goes round, if there's any misalignment of the lining, it becomes very obvious. So it has to be spot on, and the factory do a great job of applying that. We've got it on the LNER black liveries as well. They've got lined wheel sets, and these are of course for the LNER period. The models both carry their pre-1946 LNER numbers, because the LNER introduced a new numbering system from 1946, and they're both in the black livery with red lining. So again, that base colour is brought to life by the pop of colour, and in particular the yellow lettering and numbers on the side of the tanks, which are very prominent. And we go through to the BR liveries. So we've got the 3 early crest locomotives, and the single late crest example, but all are carrying the same lining pattern that BR obviously applied to most of its passenger locomotives. And we've got the 3 running number choices for the early crest and the single version for late crest.
Well, thank you, Richard, for going through all the detail of the locomotives today. We're going to go and catch up with Chris Yates from TMC to find out a little bit more about why we went down the route of selecting the G5. So Chris Yates from TMC is with me now. Chris, you must be very proud to see these 8 locomotives in front of us today.
Certainly am, Mark. Yes, it's quite exceptional that the G5s are here at last. All these variations, incorporating all the differences in liveries and tooling, is just fantastic. So, I do have to thank Bachmann for, everything here. It's just what we wanted.
Why did you go down the route of choosing selecting the G5?
We like to do things with a bit of a local flavour, and being up there in the northeast, this one fits the bill perfectly. We have a photograph of this engine going up the bank, which is just at the bottom of our driveway in Beckhole, and it's just nice to do things that have a local interest, really.
Doesn't get much local than that, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
So, in terms of when you first came up with the decision to go down the route of selecting this model, did you think it would come to this?
Actually, it's certainly surpassed all our expectations, because initially it was to do with the new build, which was 1759 over in Shildon, because of the fact that no member of the class survived. But it quickly became apparent that covering all the bases and the history of the model through its lifetime, it really was not just about that one engine, it was about all of them. As exquisite as 1759 is, and the livery is just just so fine.
It's stunning, isn't it?
There's lining where you can't even get lining. It's just really is stunning. It's super.
So you're no stranger to commissioning new models, but they've normally been rolling stock. To commission a locomotive must have been quite daunting.
Well, it certainly is. But obviously, the risk is increased the more investment you put into something. We started off with new tooling on the Mark I horse box, and then we progressed to the plate wagons and bolster wagons, and we've also done lots of buildings and other individual items and relivers and renumbered models. But this is the first completely new tooled locomotive. And it's a way of getting what you want, I suppose, or trying to give your customers what they want. And if nothing else, it accelerates the process, because it might have already been on the list, or it could be added in a year or two's time or whatever. But it's just something that we've sort of brought to the market a bit faster, we like to think.
Do you have a favourite amongst the 8 that are coming through?
Well, one in particular, because we have a photograph of it running up Beckholt Bank when it was double track. I didn't take the photograph, I hasten to add, of 67282, which was then shedded at Moulton.
So to the important bit, these locomotives, when can we expect to see them?
Well, all the models are in transit, and the first ones will arrive with us in June, and the rest throughout the summer.
And how much?
The black ones in early and late BR and the LNER ones are £180 for the standard analogue, and £280 for sound fitted, which actually does work on analogue as well. The northeastern green ones, because of the intricacy of the layout of the livery, those are £10 more. So those are £190 analogue and £290 sound fitted.
And one of the locomotives, there's a donation has also been made.
Yeah, 1759 is the new build loco by the G5 Society in Shildon, and a donation for every loco we sell will go to the society to help them, with the build.
Now, in addition to these lovely pristine models, of course, you're well known for your customisation skills at TMC. Are you doing weathered versions as well?
Absolutely, we are. On the website, when you order the model or over the phone, you can stipulate the type of weathering you want, whether you want a light, a medium, or a heavy type of effect. You can add real coal, you can add a crew, lamps, screw-link couplings fit in, this sort of thing. Any sort of enhancement that you would like. Check the options on the website, and if there's anything even outside of that, if we can do it, the workshop will.
Well, look, Chris, thank you very much indeed for joining us today and showcasing your new locomotives. I don't know about you, but I'm rather looking forward to actually getting to see these running around the layout.
Me too, Mark, and I can't wait to see quite a few weathered versions as well, although it is a shame to dirty them when they look so pristine, isn't it? But they didn't stay like that long.
So I hope you've enjoyed our sneak peek at TMC and Bachmann's brand new G5. You can read the full review in our August 2023 issue of Hornby Magazine and online at keymodelworld.com. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.